to contact the driver after making reasonable efforts to do so, the MRO may contact the designated employer representative in an effort to reach the driver. In this instance, the designated employer representative must take steps to keep this contact confidential. The regulations offer specific conditions under which the MRO may verify the positive, adulterated, or substituted result without discussing the test with the driver. What happens after the requirements of the regulations are met and the driver's test result has been verified as positive, adulterated, or substituted? When this happens, the employer must advise the driver regarding the resources available to resolve the problem. This includes evaluation by a substance abuse professional, or SAP. The SAP will direct the driver to participate in a rehabilitation program. The driver may return to work after completing the program and completing a return-to-duty test with negative results. Such a driver is subject to follow-up testing, at least 6 tests in the first 12 months after returning to duty. Follow-up testing may continue for up to 5 years.
This driver must take a drug test. The supervisor has directed him to go into the company's restroom and fill the sample container. This test will meet the requirements of the regulation. True or false? False. The test sample must be collected by someone trained in sample collection and in maintaining custody and control of the sample. Further, the sample must be collected in a private and secure setting. The drug testing laboratory must contact the employer when a sample yields a positive result, so that the employer can immediately remove the driver from safety-sensitive work. True or false? False. The laboratory will contact the medical review officer with a positive result. The MRO will then contact the driver to discuss the test confidentially. Following this discussion, the MRO will determine how and when to communicate the results with the employer. The regulations require employers to communicate their alcohol and drug policies and programs to employees. Supervisors are required to have additional training in recognizing the behaviors that may indicate alcohol abuse or controlled substance use. The required reasonable suspicion training for supervisors includes a minimum of 60 minutes on alcohol misuse and 60 minutes on controlled substance use. The individual records of drivers must be maintained in a secure manner with controlled access, so that disclosure to unauthorized persons does not occur. Who is authorized to access these records? First, the employee, upon written request, may obtain copies of the records. Secondly, the employer must make records available to agencies with regulatory authority over the employer. We've touched on the key points of the regulations regarding alcohol and controlled substances. Let's take 1 minute to test your knowledge. This driver is new on the job. Prior to driving, he must be given a pre-employment alcohol and controlled substances test. False. Pre-employment testing is only required for controlled substances, not alcohol. When a driver tests positive for controlled substances, the testing lab must notify the employer and the driver must cease safety-sensitive functions immediately. False. The testing lab will contact the designated medical review officer. After the MRO contacts the driver who tested positive and interprets the results, the MRO will determine when and how to notify the employer. Following this accident, the state police gave the driver a breath alcohol test and issued a citation for a moving traffic violation. In order to comply with the regulations, the employer must perform an independent test within 2 hours. False. The alcohol test administered by state and local police meets the regulations requirements for post-accident alcohol testing. However, the employer would still be required to conduct controlled substances testing. The documents used to record an individual driver's test results may be forwarded to a driver's new employer at the new employer's request. False. The documents can only be provided to the new employer if the driver authorizes this transfer. If a driver refuses to take an alcohol or controlled substances test, he is allowed to return to performing safety-sensitive functions. True or false? False. Refusing to take a test is treated the same as testing positive. Everyone agrees that drinking, drugs, and driving don't mix. Fortunately, the trucking industry has a good overall record when it comes to impaired drivers. The vast majority of professional drivers know the rules and live by them. But because the potential consequences of breaking these rules are devastating, testing drivers for alcohol and drug use does make sense. Knowing the regulations and applying them in your daily operations means you are doing your part to protect your industry, your company, and the driving public.